Throughout these high holidays, these Yamim Noraim, we've been focusing on a phrase, Am Echad, Lev Echad, one people with one heart. One people with one heart. We've been focusing on a song, V'yachel levavenu l'ahava, unite our hearts towards, with, and in love. And the truth is that those words and that idea are really aspirational. And it's really hard at times to see us as a Jewish people as truly being united. When we first spoke about this as our theme for the holidays and this year, I was playing around with it. I actually played around with the idea of using different punctuation marks. One people, one heart, straight up. One people, one heart. Maybe it's a semicolon, a hyphen. It was all kind of confusing after a while, though, because grammar's not really my thing. But I've been playing with this over and over in my mind. And it's been inspiring us as we've been preparing to be here with you under this beautiful tent. When you walk into Bet Tzedek, you will find on the walls outside of the museum a photo exhibit titled Periphery. Periphery was created by Ontario Jewish Archives in partnership with No Silence on Race, an organization that was founded in response to the killing of George Floyd in 2020 in order to name and combat racism within the Jewish community. The idea behind this exhibit, Periphery, is to bring faces and stories of Jews who often find themselves on the outside or just on the periphery of the Jewish community, Jews of color, Mizrahi Jews, LGBTQ Jews, and others, into the center by highlighting them. And I'm proud that this year, especially this year, as we bring in this new Jewish year, that that's what we have on our walls. And I want to also just thank our READY Committee, or Anti-Racism, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee, for making this happen. I think that it is crucial, especially at this time, to keep our boundaries as a Jewish community as wide and as open as possible, and to ensure that we have spaces that affirm all of our Jewish stories. And I also know that that's difficult in this moment. At the opening of the Periphery exhibit just a few weeks ago, I shared a famous teaching by the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement. And it's included in Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, Zichrono Livracha's book, titled A Letter in the Scroll. I read this book over 20 years ago, and I still find that it resonates with me over and over again. The Baal Shem Tov teaches that the Jewish people is like a Sefer Torah, like a Torah scroll. And when a Torah scroll is missing even one letter, if one letter in the Torah is scrubbed out or erased, the Torah becomes pasul. It's no longer valid, and we can't use it anymore. So too, said the Baal Shem Tov, if even one Jew is made to feel like an outsider, feels erased or excluded, it's as if the entire Jewish community becomes invalid as well. And so if we take that metaphor, we have a lot of work to do, and it is really hard. And it is in this spirit of wanting to feel a sense of connection and unity with my fellow Jews, and to take a generous approach to them when needed, that I say to you now, and I say this really with a heavy and broken heart that I don't know what to do in this formula when it comes to anti-Zionist Jews. I just don't know what to do. And for me, it's a source of extreme sadness and pain. I am feeling hurt by the way they relate to Israel, to our community as a whole, how they present themselves as acting from a place of Jewish values. The thought of Jewish university students making Kiddush inside the encampments at U of T feels sickening. And at the same time, the pain for me is also connected to my own values of wanting to resist narrowing the boundaries of who I can see as part of my community and who is on the outside. Many of you have likely seen the cover of the latest CJN, Canadian Jewish News magazine. It's hard to see from there, but this is it. You all seen it? It's worth taking time with it, and it's worth the read. This is how the CJN describes the cover. The image depicted a fictional family gathered for Rosh Hashanah. This family included a matronly woman, not the language I would choose, in an apron wearing a yellow ribbon in support of bringing the hostages home. A young girl with a dog tag necklace in support of the IDF. Two bearded men in a heated discussion. Someone looking at footage of an explosion posted to Instagram on their smartphone. And one woman clutching her forehead in apparent disappointment or frustration. And most controversially, a young woman sporting a keffiyeh and watermelon earrings, a symbol of Palestinian solidarity. This image, which depicts reality, is so painful that an acquaintance of mine here in Toronto, who I respect quite a bit, and who has established himself as a thought leader in the city, posted that this image is the last straw for him and that he would be unsubscribing from the CJN. Which was, of course, followed by the usual piling on and agreement by others, which included criticizing the chutzpah of anyone who would use their cell phone at a Rosh Hashanah dinner. Has anyone had that around their table? And of course, anyone who is critical of any of Israel's actions, period. To be honest, and you might be among those who are critical of it, despite this criticism by some in our community, I think this cover actually does a really good job of presenting the reality of what some of our families look like right now and the pain that is associated with it. And it might not be a keffiyeh in your family, it might be just the watermelon earrings, or it might be just someone who is critical of the Israeli government's approach to something. But we all might find something or someone around our table this year that just feels like they are going too far. Many in our community have been wishing each other this year a Shana Yotel Tova, a better year ahead. In many ways, it has been a horrible year for the Jewish people. Certainly the worst that I have lived through. And even so, we know that many of us experienced many moments of personal joy. I'll just say that in our family, we had a bat mitzvah this year, 2 new babies born, my sisters, not for my wife and I. And we can't forget those. Even among the pain and the suffering, we have to actually acknowledge the good that exists and let that too seep into our hearts. One of the silver linings has been the number of people who have stepped up this year, like Esther in the Purim story, answering the call of Ulai Ka'et Kazot, perhaps for exactly this moment you exist and you are in this position of power you find yourself in. speaking out against anti-Semitism, organizing Jewish heritage groups in their companies and businesses, online influencers really for the first time speaking out on behalf of Israel, teachers in the TDSB supporting Jewish students like never before, and others finding ways to use their unique skills on behalf of the Jewish people. And it's been really beautiful to see. My concern, however, is that in this activism and speaking out, I'm noticing at times that it is emerging as hard-lined, as in, I am going to speak out, but only my approach to this moment is authentic and appropriate. And I'm seeing this both from the right and from the left. Rabbi Daniel Hartman, who've had the pleasure and honor of studying a lot with this year, the president of the Shalom Hartman Institute, has been saying of late that anyone who says, I know, and continues the sentence, who is clear about how things are going to unfold, about exactly how to act in this moment, is simply not trustworthy. In many ways, this moment scares me. I feel great uncertainty, and we need to approach it with great humility and carefulness. We must be vigilant about not quickly shutting out people that are taking a different approach than us. On Rosh Hashanah, I spoke about Rabbi Sharon Brause's book, The Amen Effect, Ancient Wisdom to Mend Our Broken Hearts and World. This is the one, and once again, I urge you to pick it up and read it this year. And I mentioned the powerful Mishna that she quotes over and over again in it, that when our ancestors would enter the courtyard in the temple, they would walk in from the right and exit from the left. And the exceptions were those who felt that their hearts were broken in some way, that something ra, something bad, something terrible happened to them this year. And those people would walk in from the left. And eventually, people coming from the right who felt wholehearted, and those brokenhearted coming from the left would meet. And they would face each other, and they would look into each other's eyes. And those coming from the right would say, Ma lach. What is going on for you? I think those are among the most beautiful Jewish words. Ma lach. What is happening for you in this moment? And as I said on Rosh Hashanah, depending on how those on the left would respond, the wholehearted ones would give them a bracha. On Rosh Hashanah, I spoke about those who said that they are mourners, that they lost someone this year who is dear to them. And the response would be, may the one who fills this house, who fills the temple, offer you comfort. But the Mishnah actually continues with another category of people. Another category of those who walk from the left and find themselves to be brokenhearted. When asked, Malach, what is going on for you in this moment? Because I am excommunicated. Because I have been excommunicated from my community. And then in normal Jewish fashion, there is a debate about how to bless them. Rabbi Meir says, may the one who dwells in this house inspire them to draw you near again. In other words, a blessing for the community, that they should find a way to welcome you back in. Rabbi Yossi disagrees and says, you make it seem as if they are treated unjustly, as if it is the community's fault. Rather, Rabbi Yossi says, may the one who dwells in this house inspire you to listen to the words of your community so that they may draw you near again. I love this debate. Do you bless the community to find a way to welcome this person who is excommunicated? Or do you bless the person who's excommunicated so that their heart can be changed, so that they can come back and join the community? I think the answer is both. We really want their hearts to turn towards us. And for the one who feels so far adrift, we also hope that our hearts can be refashioned so that we can welcome them in. It says in the Torah, at the moment of Yam Suf, of the splitting of the Red Sea, it says that the water becomes a boundary, a protector for us. Hamaim lahem choma miminam umismolam, that the water parted in two and protected us both from the right and from the left. And when I think about these words, and I think about this moment that we are living in, I actually think about those people who were marching through those two sides. And I think about the diversity of those people. Maybe some were closer to the left side, because that's how they saw themselves. Maybe those who were on the right side was because that's how they saw themselves. And a whole mess of people who were in the middle, who were struggling, but all together they were able to walk out towards freedom. And I love that image. But there's also a tradition, a sad tradition, that says that there were many who didn't leave Egypt at all. They didn't make it out. They were too far gone. They saw themselves as outsiders, and when God commands the people to place the blood of the sheep, the mezuzah, on their doorposts, they chose not to. They took themselves out at that moment. I want and I need, and my bracha for us at this moment, as we continue to bring in this new year, as we be the vibrant and diverse Jewish community that I want for us to be. And with that, I'm going to say once again, as I said at the beginning, I really don't know what to do with those who self-declare themselves to be anti-Zionists. For them, I just feel sad. I hope they find their way back in to our tent. And at this moment, as Daniel Harmon gives us permission to be, I just need to be okay with not knowing. But for the vast majority of Jews who are struggling and critical in different ways and don't know exactly where they belong, I want to remind us of the words that I chanted just a few minutes ago, asking God and each other for permission to be together with those who are the avalyanim, usually translated as those who are sinners, but I think also the avalyanim as those who are just, they're crossing some boundary. And maybe a little bit outside of the boundaries that we are comfortable with. And so I ask you at this moment, as the prayer says, and I plead to you, find some ways to open your heart further. Allow your own personal boundaries around who you feel you can accept, who you can unite your heart with, who you can love. Let them be just a little bit wider this year. And I can't tell you for yourself how wide they should be. But I know that they need to be wider than they probably are at this very moment. Gmal Chatima Tova. It is really beautiful to be with all of you.